The following episode is part of a campaign supporting Ross Rifles on Kickstarter. It's happening right now, and you can find a link to the Kickstarter campaign in today's episode notes, or visit terriblewarriors.com/Ross-Rifle. Ross Rifles has already met its goal. It met it in the first 24 hours of its campaign, but you can still get involved right now and join in to help it reach these very cool stretch goals. We talk about those stretch goals at the end of this episode, so stay tuned for that. There's still 18 days to go, but don't wait until the last minute to throw your support behind this very cool Canadian game. And today, on the Terrible Warriors, we return to Ross Rifles. We return to Passchendaele in 1917 to a trio of soldiers affectionately called the Meat Grinders. And they were sent out on a mission in our last episode, and everything was almost going to plan. But now their sergeant is trapped in no man's land, in the dark, in the rain, in the mud, in the blood. He's got a captive, but can he make it back to friendly territory? And can McQueen and Rice help bring their friend home? Now, the Canadian Expeditionary Forces might refer to these soldiers as the Meat Grinders, but you know them as the Terrible Warriors. Welcome back, Terrible Warriors, to our playthrough of our Kickstarter special of Ross Rifles. I'm Justin Eacock, and I am joined around the table with Alex and co-creators Pat and Dan, Dan or Daniel? Daniel's fine. And who are joining us to show us the game of Ross Rifles. Ross Rifles, of course, is the game of Canadian soldiers in World War I. And it was very intentional of you to use Canadian soldiers. Is that like part or because it's Ross Rifles and the stories are of Canadians, but
yeah,
why specifically the story of Canadian soldiers?
Because we're Canadian.
Because we're Canadian.
Yeah,
it's just because that story isn't told,
and it isn't told. That's 100%.
And there's certainly the mythology of the Canadian World War I soldier, the stormtrooper, right? Vimy Ridge, this whole national identity building event, really, and we wanted to play into that as well.
Yeah. And you're saying when the with the Kickstarter, the core book that will come out of that is going to include a lot more historical information to inform players who wouldn't know the story of the Canadian soldiers.
Yeah, there's like an entire history of the war.
Yep.
There's a history of the Ross rifle, a history of the Lee Enfield rifle. We put all 4 of the major battles that Canada participated in. Patrick and I were like looking at old weather records, what the Canadian Expeditionary Force was doing as a whole, and what U.S. players can be doing. We put examples of that. What else in terms of history? We put histories of just like the people who fought in the war. So in the character creation section, there's like a history on the Chinese Canadians, the Japanese Canadians. All of that is included.
Yeah. And I mean, Vimy Ridge is, it's not as well known that it's itself considered Canadian soil.
Yeah.
Right? That part of it where the monument is. And I've had friends who've gone and gotten a chance to visit that place. It's one of those, like, if I ever make it there, is one that I would love to visit and witness.
That's one of my goals.
Yeah, and it's one of those this bit of different countries have different origin stories, and for Canada, World War I is very much part of its origin story. It wasn't like the U.S. with a war of independence and other like the Civil War that they had, where all these conflicts that happened on their own soil. For Canada, those battles were fought overseas.
Yeah.
And then we're
going to be adding a ton more in terms of history. We've got obviously our second stretch goal is called Behind Enemy Lines, and it's going to be an additional chapter expanding on the German trenches and their weapons and examples of NPCs that the GM can draw on.
Yeah, well, I mean, and because the countries that participated in World War I, there was so much of a shift in identity after World War I leading into World War II that it reshaped all those monarchies and empires that just didn't exist afterwards that became countries and nations, and
the map of Europe was completely blown up afterwards.
Yeah, it was a turning point in the direction of society. And
the Ottoman Empire gone. You had Austria-Hungary gone. Like the two, other than England or other than Great Britain, like the two largest world powers gone.
Germany was also lost a ton of land.
Drastically changed.
Like I have, because my family, one side is from Germany. We have books of, like where my opa is from Frankfurt, and it'll be like, here's history of Frankfurt, and you'll open the book and it'll have a map of Germany, circa 1910.
Yeah,
and you're like, whoa! It's like, if you look on the map, it's like 5 times the size it used to be.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that was honestly the first time I got an appreciation for how different Europe's makeup was actually playing Battlefield. Because it gave you this kind of like, whoa, there's this it was almost, in some parts of Europe were medieval in levels of technology and showing up to war in plate mail, and then very quickly everyone participating had to catch up. And I had read Germany only had 4 tanks and they were all stolen from the British or something like that. There was one country in particular, like there was like that, they were just behind on that tech.
Mm-hmm. And then World War II came about.
And so these tanks were all tanks that were stolen and then repurposed and then used back again. Versus groups like the British who were moving in and had automation and industry and were rolling in on
there's so many stories that aren't told or not told often, like Armenia, things like that were happening then, that they're hugely important to certain sects of people, but then you only hear about generally the States.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But speaking of interesting, you're in an interesting spot, Alex.
I am.
When we last played, we were given a mission to capture a German officer for intelligence purposes.
Mission successful.
Question mark.
You didn't bring him back yet.
McQueen is back
without the German officer.
With me. I'm playing Al Rice, our scout sniper. And you're out there. And we left that episode of you in no man's land.
Yeah.
Dan, I'll hand you the speaking stick to you're very welcome.
Thank you. Well, let's focus on
where we last left me. I was going, well, and we cut to black,
and then an artillery shell goes off, and the episode ended.
And the flares go out, and it's just plunged into pitch black.
I like that.
And then it fades out, and then it goes to the credits silently, and that's the end of the episode.
We'll see you in season 2 if we get renewed.
In 9 years of development. What?
Now, Sergeant Benjamin Williams, you found yourself trapped in no man's land with your German prisoner. You're about halfway through no man's land. You've got, I would say, a solid 25 meters to get back to your allies, and that's a long distance. And
when we're both, I've hobbled him.
You've hobbled him. You could hear him cry, and he's screaming. You cut his Achilles tendon,
and I got a bullet in my foot.
You got a bullet in his bullet in your foot, and you.
I mean, between the both of you got 2 working legs.
We're a sitcom waiting to happen.
Yeah. Now here's the problem. In the last episode, it was raining, and it's still raining, and unless you get moving, you're gonna sink in the mud in this crater.
Okay.
Now you two are dry and warm because you've tumbled deep down into your dugout.
Can I tell you another war anecdote?
Yes. I love these.
Long ago, I used to go to church a lot, and one of the older gentlemen that I got to know a lot, his name was Red, and that's actually where I named this kid after. And Red Wilson served as a tank driver in World War II in the Italian theater. And he told me the story of they wanted to stay warm. So they went to sleep under the tanks, and then it started to rain, and then the tanks sank into the mud.
Oh my gosh.
And they woke up that next morning, and half of them were under the tanks and had died. Damn. And then he ran away, met up with his brother, and they stole a motorcycle, and they drove around some Italian villages for about 2 weeks. And then they went back and they turned themselves in, and they served a little time. And then they went back out, and they were charged with going AWOL and all this.
Wow.
But it was just after that had happened, he was just out.
Yeah, I'm done.
But it was this image of the sinking tanks. And no one knew because it all happened literally in their sleep.
Yeah,
and they just,
of course.
And the mud came and the rain was pounding and they were all under the tanks. They were sleeping under the engine blocks because it was warm.
Yeah.
And then they just silently just went into the mud and that was it.
Yep.
And it's just pointless.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, it was just one of those stories that just really, really stuck with me. And now I'm thinking here, you're in no man's land, and it's like this 3 years of shelling and the ground being turned over and moved,
it's loose,
and blown apart, and it's all just gross and wet and loose. And if you stop, you just keep sinking down, and you'll just keep going.
Well, I'm going to assume that
and that's what's happening.
The other officer knows he can tell that's happening too.
Yeah, he's screaming. He's still clutching his leg. First of all,
and so I'm going to yank on him, and I'm motioning to move because he knows he's got to move or he's going to die too.
He knows he's going to move, but you're also in the middle of a gun battle.
Yeah, that's true.
Faithful through adversity. There's a
you can do some first aid on yourself or him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to heal him. I'll do some first aid on myself.
Yeah, give it a roll. Do you have anything in your pack that can help you?
Let me see here. I have.
If only you still had your cheese.
What?
Yeah, I just rubbed some cheese on my gunshot wound. And then,
the officer had that really nice coat. You could rip a sleeve off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
yeah.
No. I'm telling him, give me your socks.
In English,
he's not going to understand you.
I motioned to his. I motioned to his feet and I yank off a boot, take a sock off.
He takes off his boot and he pulls off his sock, and you can see his foot is like in rough shape.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Oh my God.
I take the sock and
I'm matching a light and handing you a cigarette back in our dugout.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my trench knife to pry out the bullet out of my
own it's gone through.
It's gone through? Okay, so I'm wrapping it myself up and tying it as like a makeshift bandage with the extra sock.
You remember when we first started playing, you said, by the end of this, I'm going to get trench foot?
Yeah.
I think you just gave yourself trench foot.
Either I gave myself trench foot or he's getting it.
Yeah, you went for like the most diseased part of his body. Go for the sleeve. Okay, you went for the sock. Okay.
Okay.
We don't understand how germs work in 1917.
I mean, penicillin is fairly new still, so.
Okay, so you
just stuff your wound with a disease-ridden sock.
It's better than dying right now.
Yeah, so
So
you
you say.
kind of, it burns, and he kind of looks to you and he sticks his really disgusting foot back into his boot, laces it up, and as he does so, this is not his bad. I'm assuming it's not his bad.
No, I wasn't that cruel.
He's sitting in the mud, sinking as he's doing that because he can't support himself with his other.
So I'm yanking him up, and we're moving.
You're yanking him up, and he's like, as you kind of pull him up, there's like another burst of gunfire. You can't tell if it came from the Canadian side or the German side. You can hear the bullets whiz over your crater, and he refuses. He pushes you off of him and tumbles back into the mud. I think he'd rather sink than get shot. And he just starts yelling in German.
All right, I'm gonna pistol whip him.
But you're not the only ones yelling in no man.
No, you can't hear him.
No,
He's yelling.
There's all these voices.
You know, it's almost better to pull dead weight than somebody fighting against me. So I'm gonna pistol whip him.
Hit him on the back of the head.
Yeah.
He falls down face first into the mud.
I roll him over and I'm dragging him by his arm.
Okay. So you're gonna pull him. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the bogged down move.
Bogged down move? Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna try to make your way back. Now, you two, Al and Greg, what's happening here?
Well, I think
because you're smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, and when we got back, I was like, oh, we forgot the sergeant, right? So we kind of know.
Oh, right.
He looks after himself. Sure. I had thought of it sounds like things are moving a little bit faster than that. So I had thought of using the ask around for information, but maybe this isn't the time.
That was a low coin flip kind of option versus the high flip we did.
Now, we don't know if he's still going to make it if he does roll bogged down. Because
I want to actually scan the horizon to see if we can even see him.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I got a 11.
Well, you were rolling 11s.
Yeah. Can I have your dice?
Yeah. You look over the top, and you actually you see them struggling. Let's go back a couple minutes in the narrative, and you see them struggling, and then you just see a very frustrated, start to go
Boop.
boop him on the back of the head with his pistol. He falls down. So he's alive, but quite far out into no man's land.
25 meters is a fair bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a standard swimming pool, but in the mud.
Yeah.
And with gunfire.
And injured.
And injured.
And raining.
Yeah.
So you're bogged down. Did you roll for bogged down?
Not yet.
So
do you want to do anything first? Spotlight's
when
on
you aid or obstruct someone, I roll with valor. I could try that again. I'm just seeing also like I could also charge towards the objective, go out there myself into the muck.
You can.
It's going to be easier to carry this person if there's two of us.
Yeah, each grab an arm and drag him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could even like aid by just grabbing a machine gun and just.
That's what I was going to think. Provide some covering fire.
Yeah.
Scream suppressing fire.
Because I think it's just time to just suck it up and go get this over with. Now the spotlights. Which side of the spotlights coming from?
Oh no, literal narrative spotlight.
Narrative spotlights.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because there's also
Also
potential
the flares.
searchlights and
No,
flares.
it's just flares.
Well, there's still chaos going on, so we
Still
have
chaos.
that advantage that they don't.
Yeah, they're
nobody's-
not going after.
Nobody's
you
paying
specifically at this
attention to
point.
us yet. They don't even know that we've captured somebody. They just know there's firefights happening.
Oh, I mean, there's still that dog there. Somebody's missing, but they could also be dead.
Yeah.
So, Daniel, would that sound like I'm aiding? Because I'm reading the rules on charge, and that really seems to go around marking ground, which is rules we haven't really explored. But the
You know what? I think in this case we should. I think in order to get
this
out
is like
there,
a rescue mission.
This is a rescue
Yeah.
mission, and so I think in terms of gaining ground, I think collectively, I think this is going to be a 3 ground mission. So that means
So it's 25 meters. That's the longest 25 meters of our life
yes,
right now.
and I think it's going to be. So that means at least 2 of you are going to have to get 3 ground each.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've had a time, so I think it's my turn.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is hop on the nearest post, maybe, and just try to aid by throwing some fire out into no man's.
We still have the grenades we haven't
Yeah.
used.
Toss grenades.
Are you charging?
Grenade of
Are
solidarity.
you going to charge?
I'm going to charge.
So I'm going to aid by giving him the covering fire.
Okay.
And I failed. I got a 5.
It just
got a 6.
It jams.
6.
Yeah.
Did you shoot me in the back?
Do you shoot my other foot?
I mean, I wasn't going to say that, but I think
The
I'm
best
going to.
player gives the GM all the ammunition.
But I think I'm going to say that. You're using your
geez.
rifle?
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay, so let's see how badly that was for my charge, because it also depends on how badly
Oh,
I
yeah.
roll. If I roll snake eyes.
this could just
So I'm
end-
rolling with
this could
valor.
just
For
end
me,
right now and all
valor
of you
is
die.
for me valor is 0. So it's just a straight roll. Maybe, but I can't use morale on myself, can I?
No, there's 2 morale points.
Okay, so I rolled an 8.
Okay,
So on a 7 to 9, I mark 1 ground, but I make serious gains, but at the cost of stamina, I would mark another stress, or I face a new obstacle. Sounds like I'm facing a new obstacle
Oh, yeah.
because of McQueen.
I'm down with that. So, as a result of your,
Are we all just one-footed soldiers now out in the...
no, I think as you charge out into no man's land, McQueen is beginning to lay down covering fire using your rifle or like a Lewis gun or.
I
Vickers.
said I would be using my rifle.
Okay, you start firing shots.
Yeah.
And I think what's happening is there's so much going on, and you're trying not to get shot, and you're ducking down, and as you squeeze off a round, and it actually strikes your meticulously cleaned rifle.
Oh.
Because you have it slow. You said you
Yeah,
slung
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and you actually see like it literally
Burst.
breaks open.
Would he know that's from me, though?
No,
Okay. So
No,
I'm
but
good.
you know it's from you.
you know you see this like
Just like you don't know I saved you, but I know I saved
And so you're
you.
running, and as you run, because you're going to gain 1 ground, so you're going to mark a ground in your playbook. As you run from crater to crater, and you finally get to cover, you realize that you've got half a Ross rifle, basically.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, at that point, I just see it and I just toss it.
Yeah, you have a
like
bayonet.
it's useless. Yeah, so I've got the bayonet, I got the knife, and
Your
the
club.
trench club, and I've got 1 grenade,
Yep.
and
This is your new
that's it.
obstacle
And a cigarette.
and a cigarette.
But do I see Ben?
Yeah, you would hear, like, as the closer you get, you hear this like German screaming, and then he goes out, because I think this is all happening simultaneously. What are you gonna do?
Some rescue attempt.
Yeah. So I'm gonna turn. Well, I've got him knocked out. I'm turning him over so he's not drowning in the mud. Yeah. And I start dragging him towards where I'm supposed to be going. Then I believe I'll turn, and that's where I'm going to see.
Do I still have
Al.
the scope?
Yeah, you could. I'm sure you would still keep
It's
the
just
scope.
the mechanics of the actual
bolt
gun
is
is gone.
So now I should be able to see Al at least.
Oh yeah, you see him. Do you want to roll bog down because you're dragging this guy?
Yeah.
You see me come, and then you see me get shot and fall, and you're not sure if I've just been killed.
Yeah, he falls into a crater.
Oh, no.
Then you see a rifle just fly out of the crater. Fuck this!
I feel like everywhere I
Just
walk, I'm
backflip.
standing on rakes that are smacking me in the face.
Oh yeah.
Like,
you're gonna roll bog down if you want to catch up to where he might have landed,
all right, let's roll
dead
that.
or alive.
Ooh.
8.
Oh, you're dragging this guy through the mud.
Okay.
Yeah, you're dragging this guy through the mud. Now, for bog down, you're gonna have to. I'm gonna pay. You get hit by the obstacle. The problem will remain. Yeah, I mean, he's just this dead weight.
Yeah.
This dead weight, and I don't need you need to even add a new problem because there's just like gunfire going on.
Yeah.
You guys are in the midst of a battle.
I'm going like
you think you've just killed.
Yeah.
I'm going like half the speed I should be going.
Scout. Yeah. And you guys are now sitting in a crater together with an unconscious German. You see Al, and he doesn't have a gun.
Did the unconscious German, when you disarmed his pistol, what happened to him?
I was going to say, I have his pistol. So I just hand you the pistol.
Yeah.
Great.
Sure.
Cool.
So now,
I got it.
now, do you already have a service pistol, or did you just
No.
have the rifle?
No, I didn't. I just had the rifle.
Okay, so now you got a pistol at least.
Now you have a pistol. Yeah.
Right.
I put my Lee Enfield scope
Yeah, I was
on
going to say, you
mine.
can try to see if you can tape the scope
Now, did you
on.
take harm when you...
He did.
1. Yeah.
So I could use this moment here to perform some basic first aid on
Get rid of that nasty
actual
sock.
first
Get
aid.
rid of that. You see this
or
nasty
I
ass
could
sock.
run the first aid on the guy who's bleeding out from a ripped Achilles tendon.
It's up to you.
Or do I wrap? Well, we could take that
him
nasty
on the
sock
other end.
off, wrap it around his ankle, and then fix me.
Now, do I have anything? I mean, the only things I've got, I don't have a...
I would use your greatcoat.
Yeah.
No. So the mess kit would be food.
Yeah, just tear
yeah.
a strip from the great
See,
coat.
I was
gonna...
I was wondering if we'd have something in the mess kit that could be used to clean the wound.
Well, I have a canteen, and I can at least take out your disease-ridden sock
and wash it off. And wash me off.
it, and then bandage it with the coat, and just
Yeah.
little.
Yeah, these guys have disappeared into the crater.
Clean.
You're just-
What I
I'm
should
gonna
have done
do
is
this.
I should have slipped an extra bottle of brandy into my coat.
Oh yeah. Do you don't think you would carry? Yeah, you said you don't have any.
No, yeah,
No,
I mean,
you lit
you
it
keep
all on
it
fire
in-
and tossed it.
And you keep it under your bed.
yeah, I keep it on my bed. I don't keep a flask on me because
Don't
it's
stop
in
thinking
secret.
about drinks. There's drinks when we get back to the bunker.
Do you say that in character like you knew?
I just rolled 12 naturally.
Okay,
On a 10 plus, you recover 2 harm. So as this is arguing, it's like now there's a drink back there. Stop thinking about the drink.
Do you
right
think
now.
your character just revealed that you know about his drinking habit?
Oh yeah. Right now in the middle, like
Yeah.
we're both dead.
It's just
Like I've just sacrificed myself to get
what
you.
do you it's just to clean the wound and
Sure. and I tighten it real tight on the bandage.
just
You get the harm off, but
Roll a
I'm not-
Constitution save. No.
there's not a whole lot of bedside manner here. And then I'll help carry the officer. We got 2 more ground to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got 2 more ground.
Okay, so what's going on in the trenches where I am?
What's your valor like?
the soldiers are running in and
Good, you get to
reinforcing
roll
the trenches.
charge.
All right, I'm going to ask around.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, there's a German officer out there that we got to get. I don't know what just happened. I think I shot. I need some help. Come on.
I need a
shot Rice.
parental figure, please.
An adult.
Let's go. Come on, please. 8. So something
Is
is
there-
demanded of me in return.
You just see Stanhope and you're just crying.
Stanhope is there, and he. You shot Rice.
I turn him like, I don't know what happened. The officer's out there. Can we just go get him, please, sir?
He doesn't know what to how to react.
He's like,
what are you doing?
He's like, when they told me that they had assigned you here, I did not think you would be this much of a thorn in my ass.
I'm gonna get mad at this. Actually, I think my character and be like, me and you graduated from the same academy. Stanhope. I'm gonna slap him in the face.
I sorry, but I was just thinking of saying, you know what? The helmet didn't do anything.
The helmet was not. The goggles, they do nothing.
You take your helmet off, you throw it into the mud.
My moment where it's like, you're not gonna help me, then I'm gonna charge myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You slap him.
Yeah.
You don't have to roll for this.
Okay.
You see he's looking at you shocked, like you just slapped him.
That's a capital offense.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. And then I are there any other soldiers around?
Yeah, there are like a whole ton
Yeah, I'm
of
gonna
them.
like try to signal to them to come on, and then I'm gonna charge myself.
You're gonna rally the rest of the soldiers.
Just grab
Yeah.
a whistle.
You're gonna grab it. You
Yes.
just grab you pull it off his neck, and
Yeah.
you blow the whistle
Yes.
Shit.
from within the trench. You're bandaging him up. All you hear is like the war with the trench whistle go off. I actually have we all have like I bought us replica ones that work. I blew it at a con once. Bad idea. You don't want to blow a whistle at a con.
No, maybe in like a private panel room.
Yeah, there were a ton of people who turned up. I was like, it's a whistle. It's all good. But anyways, you hear the trench whistle, and you're expecting to see Stanhope leading a charge.
Yeah.
You see
The reporter.
McQueen,
Sans stupid helmet.
Yeah.
helmetless McQueen, and the rest of your section rise up out of the trenches and charge towards you. They don't know exactly where you are.
This is all running off a cliff.
And they are running towards the German line.
And I'm going to say, so we look at each other and what the hell is happening?
This is a major charge going on. You've just led a major charge.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that you're running towards their crater.
Yes.
Whereas the rest of the Canadians are either being mowed down or advancing very slowly. Most likely being mowed down.
Yeah. It was an ill-advised decision.
Yeah, they're being mowed down.
yeah. This is
And this is an opportunity.
This is a slaughter.
This is an opportunity, though, because the guns are not trained on you. They're trained on literally every other Canadian you've just sacrificed.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
I think you're going to both have to charge.
Yeah, we both roll
Yeah.
charge.
And you're now in no man's land.
Did that reuse up the rest of the morale?
I feel like we don't have a rule for getting
Because
rid
you
of
didn't
morale.
roll for that, but did that spend morale when you did that?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so, no.
I'm just looking for any help
boy.
on my roll.
You can morale each other, though.
Oh, I'm moraling you. Here, take a bonus, and I'm gonna take.
Okay.
I'm gonna take.
Because you're rolling the same roll, so...
Burn him if we got him. Now we got no more morale.
All right, I got 8.
And with the +1 from the morale?
Yeah. I didn't roll very good, but I have +2
This
on
is
my...
fine. You rolled an 8. I rolled a 5.
Oh, boy.
I missed my chance, and the enemy opens fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you stumble. Yeah, you stumble as... You're not going to get to that. You're not going to get that ground as you.
It also says I mark harm.
Yep. As
Yeah.
you try to get out, you're gonna take a shot right in the shoulder. You sink back into the trench,
That's where my gun used to be. I would have been shot in the gun, but you already shot it.
Yeah.
and Sergeant Williams, you begin to run towards. You begin to run back, and you actually see all of these soldiers, the ones who survived this ill-fated charge, hiding in craters. To be like, Sergeant Williams, what do we do? We need you, Sergeant Williams. And all you hear from the trench is, McQueen!
Follow me.
Like fall back.
Fall back.
You're going to yell, fall back?
Fall back. Follow me. Fall back.
Fall back. I guess
Yeah.
you just yell, fall back.
Fall back.
Okay. Now, you've been hit.
Yeah, I have.
You're back in the trench, but you also... who has the German?
I do.
Yeah, you have the German.
So he made it back?
No.
I
Okay.
made it up to you. I dressed up your foot, reduced your harm, and then
And I
we.
was-
And then he got
and then
trapped.
and
I
then
was
the
running
then the
towards
trench
him.
whistle
Yeah.
goes,
You got-
and we
Okay, so
started
I
running.
got to you. Then
Because-
I'm going to fall back with him.
Because I made one gain with
Yeah.
my roll.
Yeah. So, do you want to pull back now? You have to charge all the way back. You got to have the final push with the German officer to make it back.
It's the mission.
Yeah, I have to get him because I have to get him
Yeah,
back.
this is the mission.
Yeah.
Now,
I turn
You
back and
each
say
have one
follow when
ground.
you Follow when you can.
This is a 3 ground mission. Mm-hmm. You're still stuck, and we'll roll your charge first. Let's see that.
Oh, I already rolled.
Oh, what'd you get?
8.
Oh, sweet.
So
You're just gonna mark stress, I think, in this case.
Yeah.
Because you've just seen all these guys get sent out to their death, and you make it back, and you see the Lieutenant Stanhope, and he's got this like red mark on his cheek, and he's missing his whistle, and you jump into the trench, you dump down that German officer, and some Canadian soldiers like rush in to subdue him.
Yeah. Mission fucking accomplished.
Yeah, mission accomplished. Lieutenant looks to you, he says, "Where's Rice? What just... Where is McQueen?"
Will someone tell me what is going on here?
They're behind me, sir. Last I checked.
All right, so I want to run into where Rice is. What harm are you at?
I just took 1,
Okay.
so I'm lightly. Well, how much is that? Is it just lightly wounded?
You're
or?
just slightly wounded.
Okay.
It's a through and through.
'Cause I guess it does depend on how the harm is handled.
Yeah.
Too. Like the GM would have discretion to increase that.
Of course.
Like if you're caught in that Gatling gun
Yeah.
before, like that's not just going to be lightly wounded.
No.
If you're caught in the middle of that.
No, you're getting severely wounded.
Can I make a fall back roll?
You
Like,
can make a
come
fall
on, let's
back.
go.
Yeah. I don't think you're... In this case, I would say you could make a fallback roll or you can charge because you've completed your objective technically.
Yeah,
the ground rules are loose for a reason.
I want to do fall back
Or
Yeah.
is it like, or would you aid in my charge
to get out.
because you
It's up to you guys.
put me over a shoulder and I've got 1 ground.
Fallback only affects you.
Yeah.
I can't fall back with him.
Yeah, unless you want to aid him, but I think you're not in a position to help.
All right, then
are you?
I'll just aid him then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could use because my valor's at a straight 0. So if I can get an aid.
Which I failed.
Oh no, your
This is all
valor.
going so well.
You got a 6.
Yeah.
Mark a stress.
Okay.
Well, I think this is where we're both. This is where we're both gonna. This is where we're. I got a 4.
Yeah.
I think you're both. Oh man.
Is this the
where-
end for us, McQueen?
I think this is the end.
Oh
Because
no.
I miss another chance. The enemy opens fire.
Yeah.
I don't get the aid. I rolled a 4. Even if I got the aid, it would have been a
And
5.
we have to move or we'll sink into the mud. So
Yeah. I think you're both gonna.
I'm lying in that crater, looking at those clouds.
I think you're gonna take another hit. Except I think this time it's gonna put you up to critically wounded, critically injured, and you find yourself lying in that very crater, looking up at the sky as the rain kind of clears.
Yeah.
And you're looking up at as the clouds part. What do you think would happen to you?
I'm gonna sit there. I'm completed the mission.
You're telling him as you're both sinking,
Yeah.
and you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
You've completed the mission.
I mean, if I'm dying here, I'm giving you the poetry book for your book.
I don't think if I make it back that the book's gonna get published. After the actions of what I've just done.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, you're gonna be.
You have to make sure
You're
that-
gonna be. You're probably gonna be executed.
That's probably
I'll on the slim chance that I won't, I'll take the poetry book from Rice and I'll make one last effort to get back to the trenches. Falling back.
Yeah.
And I get a 7 or an 8. So
It's the same thing.
I mark a stress, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
knowing what my
or
fate's
you
gonna
lose,
be.
or you lose the poetry book.
you lose the poetry book on the way.
You lose a personal item.
I think I would mark a stress because it's the fire's kind of cleared up. But,
Yeah. Yeah, as you make it back,
and
and
it's going to be to my.
so what does Rice's death look like?
It's quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet.
you clutching the rifle.
It's
Well,
gone.
What rifle?
It's gone. It's just we were just sinking into the mud.
Yeah.
It's just this.
It's Titanic.
Yeah, it's as peaceful as it could have been. And there's kind of a comfort in all of that. Like these craters, these clouds, these quiet moments, these were always places where Al was, it was a retreat to.
Yeah.
And, well, it's as fitting a place as any.
At least it was a clear sky.
At least.
At
Yeah.
least.
So it's just blue skies and clouds and then under the mud. And
Yeah,
then
and
just
as-
fade to black.
And as that happens, you make it back to the trenches. You've lost 24 men. Your actions. The lieutenant immediately has you apprehended for your actions, and you will face a court martial. They'll likely execute you. Now you've captured a German officer, and that will earn you, very, very likely earn you a medal for capturing that German officer. And
as the sole surviving
member of the meat grinders.
We put us through the meat grinder, that's for sure.
Well,
feel good about yourself,
I think it's time for a drink,
Benji?
More than anything. But what I'm picturing in my head is the battle's cleared, and I'm drawing a blank on the lieutenant's name.
Stanhope
sends me out to go get the identity discs from everybody, just like I usually do.
Yeah.
And maybe as I'm going and collecting, fingers crossed, we see Charlie the dog.
Yeah, totally.
And Charlie the dog is digging at.
Maybe you're still
Al's.
alive.
Yeah, well-
and if we did another session.
Yeah, we didn't have killed in action.
I was
It's
gonna
just
say-
critically injured, and I've just given up. If I as I go under the mud, there's Charlie the dog digging
digging
me out of
you
the
out,
mud.
or a hand reaches
Pulling
out.
me.
And
No. How about this? I find, did you keep the book?
Well, I'm intended to have it published before I die.
Okay. Well, you've been apprehended. I grabbed the book, and I'm walking out there. I see Charlie the dog show up, and I hand Charlie the dog the book to sniff.
Smell.
Find.
So yeah, if we did another session, Charlie Dog, but also there are a whole bunch of other soldiers trapped out in no man's land. I had this idea if we were to do another one that Red would be there and pull you out, and you see this face, somebody you saved.
Yeah.
Or is that who you're seeing as you start to lose consciousness?
Ooh, yeah. And that's
Chilling.
That's Ross rifles.
We are. Took a turn there.
Took a turn. One bad decision.
Well, and like it just you might be up for execution, but you're thrown into a paddock somewhere. Could ask around. I could use that move to like, where is he being held, and we can have that conversation before that happens,
and that's how the drama can continue.
Yeah.
and then it becomes a like you and I, Alex, with using personal items and conversations. And now we're not dealing with the front and the war and the line, but with the politics happening just right there in the trenches. And
you could find a way to get him out of
is
there.
there another superior that we can talk to that isn't Stanhope, where we can go like, if it wasn't for McQueen, wasn't for those actions, we'd all be dead. We wouldn't have the officer. This all would happen. And it's just like, he's telling a story, and are you really going to execute a journalist working for the newspaper that was sent in? Like, this whole thing's going to blow up. Just discharge him. Just do something. Just send him back.
So he's sent to a sanitarium, maybe for now.
Yeah,
like he wasn't of right mind. He had a moment of insanity, and and that conversation could continue where we're both now advocating for you as you're locked behind bars.
Yeah,
getting better in quotes.
What sergeant move did you take?
Take a swig.
Oh, right, of course.
Of course he did.
And it didn't come up as a need in what we were doing.
No, not in this one.
No, on a more social
thing.
Because there are other moves, like I was mentioning them just so that you, my dear listener, would understand that there's stuff here like providing comfort and asking around and work while at rest that
you could have also shouldered the responsibility.
Just because we did this very kind of action in the night raid against enemy lines, that's not necessarily every game that's going to play out. It could just be, like you mentioned, sitting around the trenches, sharing a smoke and sharing stories, and just like the mundaneness sometimes of just waiting.
The boredom.
Or waiting like for the next thing.
The politics. Like you could have, if you had shouldered the responsibility, you could have been like, no, this is on me, not
like
him.
Literally shoulder the responsibility.
Yeah.
Like I took one in the shoulder.
Yeah, it could have gone in so many different directions.
Call to action. It could have used that to inspire everybody to go out and do something.
Yeah.
Pull rank. That would only be if I had gotten.
If you had been the one to get back against Stanhope and McQueen and I were still on the other side.
Yeah, even though technically it would have been my superior.
Yeah,
but I could have, if I had found, for instance, let's say Stanhope was incompetent. I could have in the field had him arrested and taken over.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways, and you chose somebody who was damaged.
Yeah,
right? So take a swig made sense for you. You could have, if we did another session, it would have been all
I love the idea
drama.
that for me, I had accepted that Al was gone, but really I hadn't checked off killed in action.
You hadn't.
And if someone else wanted to change that and pull me out anyways, and now this whole story of, Al had accepted it and embraced it, and
then you were denied it.
And then pulled out and pulled back into it.
You could have been.
And then I was done. I was out. And now I'm back here again. And it's just like purgatory.
Or they could have explored your character like Johnny Got His Gun, where you're like, you can't see anymore, you can't feel anymore. That you ever seen that movie or book?
No.
Ever see the Metallica music video 1?
No.
Okay, they take
that's a weird flex.
No, because they take the movie is used for the music video.
Okay,
and it's about a soldier who's he can't speak, he has no arms, no legs. He's basically held alive with modern medicine, and how the only way he learns to communicate is Morse code, and he's beating his head, and he wants to die, but the soldiers won't let him because it's against the law to do that.
Yeah.
So and it was it was a really popular World War I anti-war book.
Yeah.
Well, so Ross Rifles is in Kickstarter. It's happening right now. Find the links in the episode details where you can go through and see how you can get involved and help support this project and which tiers you want to get in on, all that kind of stuff. What can we expect with Ross Rifles and its Kickstarter? Like, where do you hope to take it from here, from the quick start guide to the final product? What's on the roadmap?
What's on the road? Like stretch goals or just the product?
Either stretch goals, if you want to share any of those, because I know we're technically recording this like a few weeks right before, so those changes might happen. But also just your desires for Ross Rifles, like this time next year, like you've talked about what the core book is going to look like and how it might differ from the content that is or is not in the quick start guide. What can we look forward to with Ross Rifles?
Yeah, up until this point, like the book itself is actually pretty much written. Like we very deliberately didn't want to kickstart it without having written the book. We want to be able, like this time
but
next,
it's the printing costs and it's the delivery,
exactly.
It's getting it out
the
there
graphic
that is
design.
so insurmountable without this support.
This time next year, everyone will have the book.
Yeah.
This time next year, everyone will have the book. That is our goal. We want to have a quick turnaround with this Kickstarter. So right now, once the campaign's over, we're going to have, our graphic designer, Will, is going to go through and we're going to start laying out this book. And then, of course, depending on like how many stretch goals we hit, Patrick and I have a lot of writing to do.
What's a really fun stretch goal? Because keep in mind, this is episode 4.
Yeah.
We're about, at this point, halfway through. So, I mean, fingers crossed, you've already blown through all your stretch goals, and now you're having to come up with entirely new ones on the fly. You're like, crap, we got no more stretch goals. That's what I'm expecting. But what of the ones that you know of here before the Kickstarter's even launched, what's one of your favorite that come to mind that you're like really
Do you want to start? You want to say?
Excited for?
Do you want to go over them?
Yeah, let me take a look at them.
So one of mine is, so there they all are. Yeah. We have our final stretch goal is Canada's 100 days.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that one.
Yeah, go for it.
Well.
You go.
So essentially, in the last 100 days of the war, it was the nature of the war changed. Instead of fighting in the trenches, they were, I guess the soldiers were, they left the trenches. It was all about assault, a rapid offensive across the German lines. And the Canadians were actually a big part of spearheading that movement. And that's something that we really want to bring to the game. We think it's really important, but it would need, we need to look at the mechanics of the game, change what we need to change. And we would want to do a bunch of research and write out all the little things that we can from that period of time.
To be like a
second book.
A second book, or like a specific
book.
Module that the game plays in, kind of like the play sets they did for Masks, which changed the setting to like alternate histories.
Yeah, but with new rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this would be rules for open warfare.
Because there's a play set in Masks where Halcyon's been taken over by aliens, and now you're teenagers, but there's no adults, and it's all occupation, and so it's a very different flavor of game. So the way stats and reputation and adults are handled are completely different because they're not really around. So all those, so all the rules are shifted sort of like to a parallel mode because this is it's not the boredom anymore. It's full on like push,
Action.
push.
Yeah. We'll essentially at the end of the Kickstarter. So my favorite is we have another little section called Skirmishes and Section Mates. And so that's the second last stretch goal. And that's going to be an NPC book. So NPCs and then 5 additional battles for Ross Rifles.
NPC book would be great because as I was finding, setting a game 100 years ago, which is like where this is now, right? Over 100 years ago, it is an interesting challenge to put yourself into what were the day-to-day lives like for the non-soldiers in this world and for civilians and how different in a way it's easier to transplant yourself into soldiers in World War II because at that point, there was mass media and entertainment and Hollywood and movies and like that kind of, there was that it was a little easier to, I get it, right? Like, Broadway's a thing and like all those, it's there. And whereas in 1917, it's all before most of that, and
still
it's
very Victorian.
Yeah, and it is another era of time. Yeah, it's like if we were placing this in other periods, it would be. I would find it very helpful, especially if I was a GM running it, to have even just a primer on just like you're with
different characters,
some of the characters, some of the people and the lives and the jobs and the hopes and dreams of people in that time period.
For me, it's another great way to highlight the diversity of the Canadian Expeditionary Force, right? To show that have a book dedicated to all the different people who are there.
Yeah, for sure, exactly.
Yeah, so that's kind of our roadmap.
Yep. And there's the medic playbook that we want to add to, which I think will be fun to figure out.
Yeah, because there's a move. One of the moves here, Faithful Through Adversity, you can try to spot a Canadian Medical Corps officer or perform basic first aid. So like you're out there and you can just call for a medic and maybe if you succeed, someone shows up.
Now the medic's not going to go with you to no man's
and runs
land.
off.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're working with right now.
Mm-hmm.
The medic's going to be the one we have to put a lot of work into.
It'll be like a very different style of play.
Like basically a non-combat character entirely.
Almost.
For the most, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to figure that
like
out.
Unless your base gets invaded.
Yeah. We're going to, I'm probably going to want to have to go back to Ottawa to the War Museum again and sort this thing out all over again.
Cool.
It's hearing about all the research that went into this game and the conversations you've had leading up to it has all been fascinating. I'm looking forward. You're going to stick around. We're going to have one more episode on a debrief where Alex and I are going to share what we thought about the game and how we enjoyed it. And you can give us a little bit more. Now that we have played it, we can have a little bit more context in our conversation because before when we started, coming in cold, right? Like going in like, I know what it's about, but without the experience of having played it, it's all just kind of a trust fall. So we'll be back. So that's going to happen in the next episode. So stick around. I got Pat and Daniel from Dundas West Games, and we're going to talk about their game Ross Rifles. So for now, follow us on Twitter at Dice Warriors, where you can keep up to date on the current state of things. And certainly I add some context in our intros and extras. So, just don't skip those 30 seconds. There's some actual critical information because these episodes are recorded well in advance, and so I use those as an opportunity. I record those the night before they go out so that you get more up-to-date things because I'm obsessive like that. I've been Justin Eacock, being part of this game. I was about to say running this game because I'm not. I usually am. I've been your scout, Al Rice, MIA, because I guess not confirmed. There's a dog digging in the mud somewhere, but that's just going to be like the spinning top at the end of Inception, left up to your interpretation.
Oh, man.
Oh, man's land.
Sorry.
Shout out. And I've been joined with my counterpart, Alex.
Yes, playing the sergeant, who's basically drinking and searching is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You're a hero now.
I'm a hero now, collecting all the IDs.
Yeah.
Collecting all the IDs that were unnecessarily...
all the lives that were thrown away.
There's protests outside the Mail and Empire building back in Toronto being free McQueen.
Yes, I've
free
been sent to the
McQueen.
court martial. I've been Patrick playing Greg McQueen, the court-martialed creative.
And I'm Daniel, and I've been the GM.
All right. come back to our next episode. We're going to break down. This is going to be a shorter bit, but we'll break down and let you know how you can continue to support Ross Rifles right here on the Cyber Wars. Until then, thank you for joining us. Be good to each other. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.